Good morning to all of our participants. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to this webinar on planning the energy transition with the Global Atlas 2.0. This webinar is being held by the International Renewable Energy Agency in partnership with the Masdar Institute of Science and Technology. For those of you not familiar with IRENA, we are an intergovernmental agency mandated by countries around the world to promote the widespread and sustainable use of all forms of renewable energy. IRENA has 140 members and 32 states in the process of becoming members. The Global Atlas for Renewable Energy is a tool developed by IRENA that allows users to prospect renewable energy opportunities. The initiative currently includes maps on solar, wind, geothermal, and bioenergy and contains more than 1,000 data sets. Today's webinar will demonstrate the enhanced functions of the latest edition of Global Atlas and show how you can use this tool to derive key information for sustainable energy decision making. Before we begin, we would like to share a quick note that IRENA does not endorse or recommend specific products or services shared within its webinar series. Information in this webinar is featured in the IRENA Renewable Energy Learning Partnership Database as just one of many best practice case studies. If you are interested in finding out about future webinars offered through the IRENA webinar series, please visit the IRENA Renewable Energy Learning Partnership website and sign up for our weekly newsletter to receive updates on courses, webinars, and internship opportunities in the sector. For today's webinar, we have two options for listening in. You may connect by computer by selecting mic and speakers, or by phone by selecting the telephone option in the right-hand panel. If you should face any technical difficulties during the webinar, please contact the GoToWebinar help desk at the number provided on your screen. I would like to encourage everyone to participate in today's session by asking questions. To do so, simply select the questions panel in the right-hand bar and enter your question with a note of who you would like it directed to. We will be collecting questions throughout the webinar. If you would like to watch this webinar again or to share it with a friend, we will have a full recording available on the IRELP website as well as on the IRENA YouTube channel. If we are not able to answer all of your questions during today's session and you wish to connect with our panelists, I encourage you to visit the IRENA community and join the Global Atlas discussion under featured topics. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our panelists for today. Our first speaker will be my colleague, Dr. Nicolas Pichot, who is a program officer here at IRENA. Nicolas coordinates the Global Atlas for Renewable Energy and participates in the development of Resource, IRENA's knowledge platform. Prior to IRENA, Nicolas worked for the European Wind Energy Association as the head of policy analysis and the Secretary General of the European Wind Technology Platform. Second, we will hear from my colleague, Abdelmalek Ali, who is an associate program officer at IRENA, where he supports in the development of the Global Atlas. Abdelmalek has extensive experience in IT implementation, with notable positions held in leading IT service companies in Nigeria. And lastly, we will hear from Jacinto Estima, who joined Masdar Institute in 2012 to apply GIS and information management techniques to the renewable energy sector. He has also been actively collaborating on the Global Atlas for Renewable Energy. In parallel, he is finishing his doctorate studies in information management, specializing in geographic information systems from the Nova University in Lisbon, Portugal. I hope you all enjoy the webinar, and with that, I would like to hand the floor to our first speaker, Nicolas.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Good morning, everyone. I'm very glad to describe you today the Global Atlas for Renewable Energy Initiative and the history of the initiative and why we have created this platform on the web to make available data sets from all over the world on resource energy. The webinar is part of a series that is conducting this week with the different partners of the Global Atlas in order for you to have an idea of the new functionalities of the Atlas 2.0 and also have a live demo of the new functionalities together with IRENA. This series of webinars is following a training program that was run in Tanzania, in Egypt, and in Peru last year, and where we had trained 25 decision makers to use the atlas for energy planning purposes. The Global Atlas is an initiative that was initiated in 2009 and was initiated with 3 countries, Denmark, Germany, and Spain, focusing on wind energy and solar energy originally. The idea was to create a prospector for wind resources and solar resources in order to highlight opportunities for further development of these technologies. With IRENA being mandated to expand this initiative, we worked on having the other renewable energy resources included into the data infrastructure of the Global Atlas, and we expanded this concept of prospector in order to have prospection for possibly bioenergy or geothermal energy. This is what we are working on today, and in the future possibly marine energy and hydropower. The initiative has expanded in scale from the 3 countries originally. A number of additional countries joined the initiative and gave access to their technical partners, their technical institute, to their contractors, so that we could approach them and partner with them to share data through the Global Atlas. The initiative has expanded also in nature with not only access to data and prospection tools, but also we are providing capacity building facilities so that people can use the Atlas, the prospection, and be able to derive policy relevant parameters. And also we help countries in order to find technical assistance when they want to move into mapping their renewable energy resource, for example. 67 countries are now on board the initiative. First, the initiative was expanded through the Clean Energy Ministerial, and then in the framework of IRENA. And all these countries are participating to some extent, either by sharing data sets or by sharing expertise or by hosting the training webinars or by displaying initiatives that they are where they are active on the field. Why has this Global Atlas been created in the first place? Is because when countries are moving to renewable energy, they are facing a transition between very often a centralized generation with big plants, where you can bring the fuel to the plant, to renewable energy resources where these are possibly smaller installations and they are distributed over the territory. You need to harvest the resource where it is, and in most cases you cannot transport the resource. In order to assess your resource, you need to create maps of the resource, but it's not enough. You need to assess your potential, which are the amount of energy you can produce with a specific technology over a specific place. To do that, you need to assess what technology can be available for a specific location, and you need to have an idea of the grid, population density, or the use of the land that will be done to implement these technologies. So this is where the Atlas is positioned. We try to provide information on the resources and also to provide information that can help to prospect technical and economic potentials. Once this information is available, we expect that countries can move and accelerate their growth of renewable energy and have more renewable energy in their energy mix eventually. This is another way to represent the same similar information, where you start from the resource, which is the amount of energy you have on a piece of land. From this resource, you try to estimate how much power you can produce, how much heat you can produce for this piece of land. Then you need to have an idea of the cost of producing this energy, and finally you need to have an idea if this is economically sound and if this fits well into the market conditions of the country. The challenge is that the more you climb this pyramid, the more complexity you have. So from the resource, we have now a good idea on how to create resource maps, what are the limitations of models and satellites, how you can complement these maps with ground measurement data, and how to estimate an uncertainty depending on the measurement points you have. So we can document pretty well this information. To calculate the technical potential, you already need to have an idea of the technologies and their conversion factors, so how much you can produce from a given technology, from a specific location. But also, you need to take into account different parameters, and depending on the level of parameters or the level of detail or granularity of the analysis you have, the assessment you will make of the amount of megawatt or megawatt hour will be completely different. So in case you take into account some particular protected areas for your GIS geospatial analysis, or if you take into account other parameters like the distance to the grid, and you change the distance to the grid that is acceptable for your model, then the outcome will be different. For the economic, you need to have a socio-economic model where you will not only estimate the levelized cost of electricity, and this will be heavily reliant on the risk assessment you will make and the cost of capital you would have, but also you need to estimate the socio-economic aspects. So how do you estimate the number of jobs that you can have from deployment of renewable energy? And the more you climb this pyramid, the more you need to add models and parameters to make the assessment. And there is no standard to do that. Therefore, whatever you do needs to be country-driven, and this is something that requires heavy discussion on the ground in order to compare what the model would say with a reality check. However, if you go through this pyramid, what happens is that you send a clearer and clearer signal to investors that the country is willing to move forward on renewable energy for a specific technology, possibly, or a set of technologies, that this growth will happen in specific areas, and this is how much that would cost to produce this electricity. And this may be competitive with already existing solutions. We are very lucky in this Global Atlas initiative because in the last 5 to 10 years there has been an explosion of the quality and the level of accuracy of the information you can get from models and simulations in particular, but also an explosion of the geospatial information that is available to make this kind of potential analysis, and an explosion of the level of providers that are able to provide this kind of service to countries or to the private sector. So on a map like the one that I'm showing, this is a wind map that is covering the entire world, has been shared with the Global Atlas by a private company. And this map was not in the public domain before, could not be accessed easily through an interface like the Global Atlas. What is interesting in this map is, so the average value have a limited interest because these average values have a level of error, but we are able to understand the level of error for every single point of the map. So you can have 6-7 meters per second, and you know that there are 50% chance that this can be accurate, but there is a variability that we can estimate. What is of very much importance are the patterns that you can have on these maps, where you can already focus analysis, further analysis or more detailed analysis on areas where there are already good chances that the resource can be interesting. So instead of focusing on entire continents, on entire territories, you can have a more focused approach and hopefully focus your investments in terms of measurement campaign and in terms of screening opportunities. And this is what this Global Atlas is able to do, is to help screen opportunities and prospect areas where we may not know that there is a good resource, or we may not know already that there is an opportunity to do projects in the future. This is how the Atlas is positioned. It is in the area of non-bankable data, meaning that we attempt to provide the best data available in the public domain with the highest granularity, meaning the highest spatial resolution, the highest temporal resolution that we can gather from governments, from the private sector, and from institutes. However, none of the data that is in the Atlas can help to develop actual projects. Actual projects are developed by the private sector, and this is where you need a validation campaign on a specific site. What the Atlas can help you do is to identify areas that seem of particular interest for doing such measurement campaign, and already to screen major dimensioning parameters. So the topography, population density, protected area, distance to the grid, for example, can be screened already with the Global Atlas so that you can have a rough idea of where to focus your attention. The infrastructure of the Atlas is decentralized, meaning that none of the data sets nor any of the services that are available in the interface are hosted by IRENA itself. IRENA only hosts the interface. The way it works is that every single data set that is available through the Global Atlas is stored on remote servers that are operated by partners. And for the time being, we have 10 geoservers that are over the globe, and they are connected to the global atlas. So how do we do that? The way we do it is that we list every single server and every single layer on this server into a very large catalog that is web service energy that was already existing. So we just built on an infrastructure that was already there. And this catalog allows to list layers and datasets, but most importantly, the description for every single layer, where it comes from, who is serving it, what are the original publications that are backing this analysis. And what we do is that with the Global Atlas interface, we are able to search into this catalog for a specific country, a specific resource, a specific data quality, to list the layers that are listed in the catalog and that can be viewed on the Global Atlas. We load this layer, we display them, and then we save the set of layers as a map. This is the maps. These are the maps that you see in the map gallery. This catalog allows also us to be compatible with other initiatives using open standards. So we are using standards from the Open Geospatial Consortium, or GEC, and other initiatives can just query this catalog and view the information either through another catalog or through a desktop application like QGIS, for example, can view this layer. So in reality, this initiative is not only providing maps and analysis, but it is also a way to concentrate every information we can gather that is related to geospatial information that is relevant for renewable energy, is listed into this catalog and is open to the renewable energy community, the energy community, for analysis. So this is a huge contribution of the effort of IRENA in that case. Some data sets of the Global Atlas. As you can see, there is a variability of data set, either national data set, so you can see the solar map from the Australian Bureau of Meteorology, or continental data set, the wind map that are served by the Spanish Energy Center, for example, for Africa, Latin America for the moment, and soon from Asia, but also regional data set from, for example, in the middle, you see the data sets from the Regional Center for Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy, ECRI. And they are serving the data sets over the web with standards that are compatible with the Global Atlas, so we can display all the information they make available through the Atlas. The information that we collected is very vast and has to be shown to user in a relevant manner. So for the dataset that are global, we want the user to access global dataset. If the dataset is a national dataset focused on the country, like the Wind Atlas of Switzerland, that is very high resolution and is in our data infrastructure, we want the user that are interested in Switzerland in wind energy to find this dataset and to have a zoom view already on the data that is available. We also have the case for islands, for example, or for entire regions. So we had to package this information into maps that you can search, and this is the purpose of this map gallery that will be displayed, shown in the live demo just afterwards. Once you have selected your map, you will open the interface, and this is where you will find the prospecting tools that are online, available for free to anyone, and also linked to policies. So in case you have done your prospection, you have downloaded the tool, you may have found an interesting place in order to grow renewable energy, you may be interested in policies, and we link to reference sources for policy information, like Resource, the knowledge gateway of IRENA, but also REN21 or REAP, for example. This is an example of what you can do with this Global Atlas. This is an example for Zimbabwe, where we have the solar map of Zimbabwe that was not in the public domain before, but thanks to our initiative, the University of Zimbabwe came to us. We make this data available on the web for free to anyone to query. We also got the grid lines from the World Bank. It's an old data set, but we are seeking to improve it. And the protected area from Protected Planet from the UNEP initiative, which is the most accurate data set you can find available in the public domain. So with that, we were able to identify some areas where there is high population density. This is another layer that we have in the system. High population density, the topography seems good for PV development. It's far from the grid, it may be an off-grid application. And by launching a tool, we are able to access the temporal series in order to see the variability of this resource over time and not only rely on the map, for example. We have more of these analytical tools that are coming. The ones that are already released are on the top left. So, for example, you have now a universal wind viewer and a universal solar viewer. So for many data providers, we are able to display solar irradiation statistics from different data providers. We can do the same for wind energy. For the moment, the single provider is Sener in Spain, and the wind roses can be drawn for every 10 kilometers for the entire Africa, and very soon Latin America, and every 5 kilometers for Europe. On the right side, top right, this is a tool that we have developed for the West Africa. This is a zoning exercise we did for opportunities for connected and off-grid PV and wind energy. So what you have is that you run the tool, you select your distance to the grid, and you are able to see the maps that we calculated for opportunities with a suitability factor. Similarly, there is a tool that is more elaborated from DLR that is doing a very similar exercise for PV and for concentrated solar power for Europe and North Africa. In that case, is more flexible and offers more parameters that the user can adjust. And finally, what will come next week online will be a PV simulator where you can simulate a PV plant, again for Europe and North Africa for the time being, due to the resolution of the data sets that are under these two. We are trying to, as I was saying at the very beginning, we are making an attempt to expand this prospection concept to other renewable energy resources. We already have one map of marine currents, and today we are looking for partnerships in order to have more marine maps that can be relevant and provide parameters for dimensioning marine energy systems, for example. And we would like to provide these maps available on the web, also prospection tools in order to dimension very basic systems, in order to raise the profiles of these marine energy that seem promising, seems to have a very huge potential, but is widely unknown for the moment. Similarly, for geothermal energy, we are working with the European Space Agency to release a gravity anomaly map from the GOSE satellite. This is the first time such map is released into a GIS application available on the web. So we are very proud already to release this map with ESA. And also, it seems that this map correlates pretty well with existing geothermal installations and known geothermal fields. So why not thinking of using this kind of data for prospecting also for geothermal? Again, the idea is not to prospect for actual geothermal plants, but to raise the profile of geothermal energy and to initiate the policy debate in countries and in regions about geothermal energy. And we think this technology deserves to be better promoted. So this is why this atlas can bring value to the sector. We are working also on the access to the data. So the atlas is web-based. You need an internet connection. However, most of the discussions you will have about resource and resource maps happen with colleagues or in meetings. And this is where you may not have an internet connection. Therefore, we created the Global Atlas Pocket, where you can search for any location in the world. It will make you access the layers and data sets, the atlases that are available for the different technologies for the location you have selected, and you will be able to access the values. So we hope that this atlas can help to prospect in remote area where you are in the middle of nowhere and you think it can be a good spot for future projects. Maybe it can help you to assess if the resource is good enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nicola. And next we'll be hearing from my colleague Abdelmalik, who will be giving a live demo of the Global Atlas.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Good morning to all. This morning I will be, and thank you very much for joining the webinar. This morning I will be taking you through some of the main functionalities that you will find on the Global Atlas 2.0 version. So to find the Global Atlas, you need to type in irena.org/Global Atlas on your address bar. And this launches a map gallery, which we have put in so much work to make a lot easy for users to find relevant content when searching through the atlas. So on the map gallery, you would notice that the initial, when you load the interface for the first time, that the map would be focused on the country you are connected from. So right now I'm connected from the UAE, and I have the map of the UAE. This is because the system picks your IP and is able to get your location and perform an initial search, presenting to you maps that are either on the UAE or your location, and also maps that are over the region where you are located. So another thing you will notice is a filtering section where you can also basically narrow down your search. So one of those options, it would be using the resource toggle buttons you have on the right side of the filtering section. You can also change the country from the map in the background. So for this, for this exercise, I would be focusing on mostly the countries in the GCC. So I will just take a few countries. I'll also focus on solar. So as you can see in the thumbnail gallery, you have mostly solar maps that are focused on the region. So I will pick one of these to open in the GIS interface. So before I do that, I should tell you that each map each thumbnail you see in the gallery corresponds to a title and a description of the map. And in the description, you would find details on who created the map, and in some cases, links to reports that detail the model with which the map has been created. So the next thing you would obviously want to do would be to open the map in the GIS interface. And this you can do either using the Open Map button or by simply double-clicking on the map. So this is the GIS interface, and it's essentially the place where you perform a variety of special operations, which could be as basic as overlaying, overlaying different layers and trying to find hotspots, to performing, measurement of areas or distances, and to even using tools to obtain more statistics. So on the interface, you have essentially 3 sections. So the first, what I'll quickly introduce you to, is on the right, which is a panel where you have the legend of the active layers in the map, a section with the tools that are related to the map that you could launch on any area to basically see statistical related information, and then my processes section that shows you the status of any tools you have deployed. Then on the right, on the left-hand side, you have the layer tree, which is essentially a list of all the layers that are open, all the layers that have been used to create the map. You can activate or deactivate a layer. You can also right-click on a layer to see other functionalities we have there. One very key one is the fact that you can adjust the opacity of each layer in case you want to give prominence to other layers in the map. Then at the top of the left panel, you would also see a number of buttons that contain different functionalities. One of them is to create a new map. Another is to edit map. You also have a button where you can basically see again the title and description of the map. Then at the top here you have the map control tools and the info picker, which I will introduce you to much later. So in this map, I would quickly perform a simple operation where I would be showing you how to use the edit legend functionality to basically delineate areas that you would want to focus on for your renewable energy prospection. So what I've done is to basically turn off pixels below with values below about 2,000 kilowatt hour per meter square, and when you apply the changes, what you see is that automatically you basically take off areas that you're probably not interested in, and you can focus on the high resource areas, which is essentially one of the very really cool functionalities on this software. You can also slide open and close the panels to have a better view of the platform. Another thing you can do is to basically move layers depending on which ones you want to give prominence. I'll quickly activate the protected layers, the protected areas layer. So you can basically move layers within the layer tree to give prominence. Hold on. Yeah, exactly. You can move layers within the layer tree to give prominence to any layer you're more interested in looking at. Then, supposing if you're a company, for example, that's looking at bidding for projects in the Middle East or in the GCC region, and you want to basically see specifically what areas would be interesting, you may also want to look at detailed statistics beyond just the average values, long-term average values, and this you can do using the info picker. So with the info picker, first you have the leeway to basically see what the irradiation value is at that point, at one point, at every single point you click on the map. So I've just done that here, and for this point the irradiation value is 2,081 kilowatt hour per meter square, which is a really good thing. You can also see the policies in the country, or if you look in the different countries, in case you're doing regional prospection. So you can see the policies we have from trusted sources, one of which is Resource, the IRENA knowledge gateway. So you can basically launch you can open the platform with a pre-search on the location, which I find really cool. Another thing you can do is access the tools. So I just spoke about statistics. You can, for each point for each pixel, get quite detailed statistics from some of the tools we have in the Atlas. So I would launch one of them, which is the HelioClean tool. Oh no, sorry. So on the tools, you have a map preview showing opening the map almost basically in the same way you left it on the interface. And on that map, you can select and add a few points and basically generate graphs in the style that you saw in Nicolas' presentation. So this works. You can also have see the value in graphical format, and also export some of the statistics you get from from performing such analysis. So another thing I would like to show you would be the save functionality we created, because one thing we basically want our users to use this system to create maps, to store their maps in our database, and also to come back and access these maps, in the future. So we don't want a case where you create a map, you come back, and you have to basically repeat the process again. So we reformed the save functionality in such that once you're logged in, you can save like really easily with a user profile on your user profile. But if you're not logged in, you can also save. Along the way, you get a prompt to create an account, which is really easy. We provide like as little information as possible to do that. Then another thing you can do with this platform, which I need to really stress, is that once you find a map on the system that doesn't contain layers that you might be interested in, or if you're looking for more layers, for example, you can do that by simply opening the data browser, which is essentially the library of the system. So it contains, it basically gives you access to the catalog, the web service catalog that Nicola talked about in his presentation. So I will quickly perform one search operation. Okay, so I'm searching for a digital elevation model. So any layer that can tell me which areas would, even in the high resource areas, which areas I wouldn't want to go to for projects due to high elevation. So you can add basically any layer you find in the data browser to the map. I should quickly also touch on these. So in the search area on the data browser, you have the option to also refine your search by keywords, also by if it's a resource-related map, you can also sort them out by fitness for use. So the data quality indicators that Nicola referenced in his presentation. So I will quickly add this. So that's a digital elevation. That's a digital elevation model layer, which I can choose to basically move down here. So for other locations, you can also using the data browser, you can also connect to data that you might have on your own GIS platform. So if you have a geo server, you can basically add servers to get data that is not in our catalog, but on your server. You can do that really easily by adding a data source. So it might be as a web map service or a WFS or even a catalog. You can also add layers directly from a web address. So you can add KML files, you can add a web map service directly to add a layer to your map. And one last thing I would like to quickly touch on before I end the demo is that these maps you see in the map gallery are maps that were published by IRENA. So we got the data set from the data providers, worked with the data providers to describe the data set properly, and created maps of these data sets and put them in the map gallery. So it's something we hope we can continue, especially with users. So if you do create the map, which you find really great and you want to share, you can contact us to review the map and put it in the gallery for other users to start the analysis from. Thank you very much. I'll give the floor to my colleague to continue the webinar.
Thank you very much, Abdulmalik, for the demo. And next we're going to be hearing from Jacinto. So Jacinto, you have the floor now.
Thanks, Stephanie, and good morning, everyone. And thank you very much for joining this webinar. Thank you also to IRENA for running this series of webinars that I think that are very important to disseminate the initiative, and especially the Global Atlas infrastructure, and also for allowing Masdar Institute to participate and show a little bit of what we are doing, and also our role as a partner in the Global Atlas initiative. So I'll give you a little bit of a background on the Masdar Institute. Masdar Institute is a research-oriented university started in 2009 on the field of sustainability. Its goal is to become a world-class research-driven university and focusing on advanced energy and sustainable technologies. Within the Masdar Institute, we have different research centers focused on different areas, always dealing with sustainable stuff. And we have this research center for renewable energy mapping and assessment that was officially launched in April 2012. And that responds to the UAE's objective to support the IRENA, the International Renewable Energy Agency, in its advancement of a publicly accessible atlas of solar and wind resources, particularly for developing countries. So this was the purpose of the creation of this research center. Of course, that now it's not only solar and wind, we are talking about a global atlas for all the renewables. And now I'll give you a brief description of our role as a partner of IRENA in this initiative. So we have basically two roles in this partnership. We are both a data provider, and we also are part of the technical team and a technical partner. And let me talk a little bit about our role as a data provider. So in our facilities here at Masdar, we have a satellite receiving station, and we are getting satellite images each 15 minutes. Then we are running a statistical model to derive maps, solar maps, in their three most important components of irradiation: the direct, diffuse, and global irradiation. These maps are then validated with ground station measurements, and the model is adjusted to be more close to the real values and to the reality. And so we basically have each 15 minutes new direct, diffuse, and global maps. This allows to create what we call an atlas, and to create or to calculate monthly maps and yearly maps of the solar irradiation. This is an example of yearly maps for 2008 and 2010 for these two components: direct normal irradiation and global horizontal irradiation. And we have also monthly maps for both for the same components, as you can see, for all the months of the year of 2010 in this example. And we have our own portals to show these both the atlas, the solar atlas, and also the wind atlas that we also have. For the wind atlas, is it's for the last 10 years, and it's a very detailed atlas for the wind resource. And these are the addresses that you can use to access our web portals of these solar and wind atlases. And as a data provider, we are able to share all this information, or at least some of the information, within the Global Atlas infrastructure. And this is an example. On the left side, you can see our Solar Atlas being displayed in the Global Atlas GIS interface. And on the right side, you can see the wind or some wind maps shown through the Global Atlas interface. There you can, and these are also the links that you can use to access these maps that are also publicly available on the map gallery that Nicolas and Abdulmalik just talked about. And this is pretty much our role as a data provider. And we also have this technical role. We are also a technical partner. So on one side, we are part of the developers team. We are part of the developers that build this GIS interface, like a lot of coding, and we also host part of the infrastructure and data. So part of the infrastructure, especially the GIS client, is hosted by Masdar Institute and is operated by us here at the Masdar Institute facility. We also offered hosting capacity to the IRENA, so if any country or organization wants to share data but they don't have the infrastructure or they don't have the technical capacity to do it, we offer to host this data at our data center in Masdar Institute. And we also offer support to these countries or organizations in formatting and converting this data to make it compatible with our infrastructure, to publishing, and we also support them in set up remote geoservers. This is the case when you don't have the expertise, but you have somehow a little bit of IT infrastructure, but you don't have any idea how to publish these maps, and then we can kind of support in helping to set up these geoservers that are the kind of the piece of software that we are mostly using to share this special data. We collaborate also in running some special analysis to highlight opportunity areas, such as the one that on West Africa that Nicolas talked about in his presentation. That's it from my side. Thank you very much, and I will be very glad to answer your questions, if any.
Thank you very much, Jacinto, for your presentation. So now we'll open the floor for questions, and remind everyone in the audience that if you would like to ask any questions about the demo or about Global Atlas in general, you can just enter your question through the right-hand panel. So we have a few questions already coming in. The first one goes to Nicolas. There's someone wondering what happens when several maps are showing for one location, like it seemed that there were for Saudi Arabia. What should you do as a user in this situation?
So this is the case, yeah, Saudi Arabia is indeed a good example. So the demo we shown was based on the HelioClim dataset, which is satellite-based data, very similar to what Jacinto has shown. So this is a dataset where we know the uncertainty because there has been a wide validation process with ground measurement station. But these datasets are not locally validated, meaning that you have a good idea of the overall uncertainty, but you don't have an idea of the local uncertainty on the dataset. And this is where, if you want to have data that are accurate, where you really want to move on towards projects, you need to have ground measurement data. In the case of Saudi Arabia, there is a measurement campaign that is one of the largest we know of which is validating the solar irradiation data and wind as well for the entire country. And this is a very significant financial effort to do so. In that case, so the Saudi Atlas is also part of the Global Atlas, although only the mesoscale map are in the system for the moment, and we are receiving regularly updated data. So in that case, we would advise to use the National Atlas, and this is a similar case for the UAE Solar Atlas, the UAE Wind Atlas, and the South Africa Wind Atlas, for example. It's a very detailed wind atlas that was ground validated too. So how do you know if you are using a mesoscale map or a ground validated map? You do that by looking at the description of the map, because in the description of every single layer we have, we explain how the dataset was created. Now, if you are not an expert in resource mapping or in measurements, you can know anyways if this map is suitable for a certain use. And this is what Abdul Malik showed, where you use the capability to load maps from the catalog. In this window, you can filter by data quality, by fitness for use. So this fitness for use indicator is something we created with major institutes. We agreed on a framework that can allow to, based on 14 quality-based indicators, to have an idea on how you can use the data, how far you can use the data. Is it data you can use for education, like NASA dataset, 100 kilometer pixel, one value every 100 kilometer, or is it data you can use for policy assessment, like dataset you will find that are in the 3-5 kilometer range, or it is something you can use for technical potential, where you are 3-5 kilometer range or below, and you have time series, for example, and this is very interesting to calculate potentials in that case. So we classify that and we give an ID on how far you can use this data set. And this requires a little bit more manipulation. If you are a basic user, you use the map as they are. If you are a little bit more interested into zoning and planning, of course, you need to get into this level of detail. So we are happily compiling all the information so that you can make your decision based on it.
Thank you very much, Nicola. Our next question is for Jacinto. Jacinto, we will have someone wondering if all of the data that's being produced by Masdar Institute is also available through the Global Atlas. So Jacinto, you have.
All right, thank you for the questions. That's a very nice question. Not all the data is available through the Global Atlas platform, but you have the links to our own web portals. And some of the data is even not available on our web portals completely. I'm talking specifically about the wind data. We have a very high spatial and temporal resolution. We have values for every hour during 10 years. So you can imagine that in terms of performance, this could be, if you select a high range of temporal, this can be, in terms of performance, it can be quite time-consuming, and some of the people could not be willing to wait for a little bit of some minutes to get the values. So in this case, you can use either the portal of the Wind Atlas, just as an example, to query values for 2003. That's the year that we have available for now. But if you want more information or more detailed information, you can approach us, and we will be very glad to provide you the data or to start any conversation on whatever you need to do with the data. And yeah, that's it.
Great, thank you so much, Jacinto. Our next question is for Abdul Malik. We have someone wondering if it's possible to share or print the maps from Global Atlas in any way.
Thank you very much. Yes, it is possible to share public maps in the Atlas. So at the end of my presentation, I made mention of, I asked users to basically request that we share their maps if they think it would put their maps in their gallery, or we'll make it public. So you can share maps on Facebook and Twitter. Then regarding printing, at the moment, most of our users simply take screenshots, high-resolution screenshots of maps they've created to put in their documentation. So their write-ups or PowerPoint presentations. But currently, we are working on an advanced map printing functionality that it's going to basically take a map from the interface, put it in the viewer, and basically help you to style your printout. So you can move the legends, move the titles here and there, put some branding component like logos to basically give you a very good content. So with this advanced printing functionality, when it comes live, you would be able to print as PDFs or print as JPEGs or PNGs or in any other image format. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Abdulmalik. So we had several people asking also about where they can find the presentations from this webinar and the recording. Following the end of this series, you will receive a follow-up email which will give you a link to the IRENA community where you will find all of the presentations, the recording, as well as a practice exercise that can help you walk through the Global Atlas. So if you've never used it before, this might be a good step to just familiarize yourself with some of the tools and functionalities. And there you will also find some of the training material from the recent Global Atlas workshops that Nicola had mentioned. So those are all useful resources if you're interested in learning more about the Global Atlas. So our next question is for Nicola. Someone wondering that if they have data, how can they add it to the Global Atlas? So Nicola, you have the floor.
So to add data to the Global Atlas, there are different ways to proceed. Either you have the data in a geospatial format, in a GIS format, and you have it available on a GeoServer, like Jacinto was describing. In that case, what you need to do is to contact us, and we will make sure that the description and the titles of every layer would be accurate and would fit with the format we have in the catalog. If this is the case, we would, with the catalog, harvest the content of the GeoServer, have the list, the layers listed into the catalog, and be able to create a map very simply that you would be able to review as a data provider, make sure you agree on the way the map is described and how it looks, and then if you agree, then we would publish it to the map gallery. In case you don't have the capability to host your own dataset on a GeoServer, because you finance the study to a third party, or you don't have IT capabilities to do so, or the expertise, you can contact us. As Jacinto mentioned, we have capabilities in the consortium to host geospatial data. And we would be able, in most cases, to provide some solution to host the data, either on the Masdar Institute GeoServer or on partner GeoServer. And we follow the same process with creating a map, registering the information on the GeoServer, and making sure the quality in the process is always followed. What we do is that we make sure at every step that the data provider, so the owner of the data, is happy with the way his own data are referenced and registered. So we make sure the description of the data, the description of the map fits with what you would expect from the Global Atlas to say. Also, when you handle data or you display data through the Global Atlas, you don't waive your intellectual property or your copyrights. You keep them. We sign an agreement with each data provider to make sure that the copyrights, intellectual property are well protected and are always kept on the side of the data provider. There is no transfer to IRENA. There is just a use that we have in order to display this data into the Global Atlas. But at any time, any data provider can decide to change or to modify or even to remove his dataset from the data infrastructure.
Thank you, Nicola. And this next question is also for you. We have a participant wondering if there's potentially to use the Global Atlas for research purposes.
Thank you, Ali, for your question. Yes, we think that the Atlas has a huge potential for helping research institutes to promote resource mapping or to have to develop tools or to develop services based on this platform. We already were contacted by a few organizations that wanted to have students working on the Global Atlas, studying it, doing their master thesis or PhDs on the Global Atlas. And this is a trend we see. We see that this can be emerging as a tool that can help for education and also for research. We also host results of research projects in some cases where, for example, the gravity map you saw from the European Space Agency is the outcome of a research project, and we feature that. We also were contacted by institutes that are doing climate-related research that have geospatial data that can be relevant for climate change and the impact on the resource that could be displayed there. So we start being active into the research area as well. The major focus on the Atlas is prospection, is to help governments and private companies in order to grow renewable energy. And there are these activities, additional activities that are coming on the radar because this platform is so flexible and powerful that it helps all the players of the renewable energy sector to work together through a common data infrastructure. So we believe this will grow even more in the future. In case you're interested to do something based on the Global Atlas, please contact us at potentials@irena.org. This is the email where we respond to the inquiries of our users every day, and we'll be happy to take it up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicola, and I think that's all for our questions today. So we'd just like to remind everyone that if you had a question that you didn't ask, or you think of something following the session and you'd like to connect with our panelists, you can do that on the IRENA community. So it's www.irena.org/community, and you can find the discussion for this webinar under featured topics. So before we conclude today, I'd like to ask that you help us in improving our webinar series by by responding to a very, very short survey. So you will see 3 questions pop up on your screen and simply select your answer. So thank you very much, everyone, for your feedback. And before we close, I'd like to say a big thank you to all of the participants that took the time to join us today, and for our panelists for their excellent presentations. I'd like to invite you to join IRENA on social media. So you can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, where you can find, where you'll be able to find this webinar recording as well as all of our previous webinar recordings, on the IRENA community, where you can join the discussion about this webinar, and on LinkedIn. So thank you very much. I hope you all have a great day.